Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." Originally posted by Throw That Asterisk to r/Am I the Asshole on March 14th, 2024. Am I the asshole for not giving my house to my sister-in-law? Throwaway for obvious reasons. This happened 2 nights ago and I'm still feeling some type of way about it. Background. My 30 female husband, 32 male, has a younger sister, sister-in-law 25 female. Sister-in-law is currently going through a divorce with 4 children. My husband and I also have 4 children. My husband and I live on a very quiet country back road in our little town, us and his family being the only residents on the road. So both his sisters and their family, and his parents, live within walking distance of our house. My husband and I have been married for 7 years and have 4 young children. My husband bought the land we live on from his parents when he was 18, and when we got married, we built a house on it. We designed our house with a big family in mind and designed it to be our forever home. It has never been a thought to move or look elsewhere. My sister-in-law is going through a divorce. She is struggling, to say the least. She was in a very toxic relationship with her ex, with her contributing just as much as he was, and he filed for divorce and moved out, leaving the 4 kids with her. My mother-in-law called my husband 2 nights ago and asked if we would come over for a chat. We get there, and my in-laws and sister-in-law are sitting on the couch like they were staging some kind of intervention. It was just really strange. My mother-in-law didn't beat around the bush at all. She explained how sister-in-law's ex was getting the house in the divorce and they would be homeless within the month if we didn't give her our home. It honestly took me a second to comprehend what she even said because it was so out of left field. Husband didn't need that second and looked them dead in the eyes and said, "No." In-laws started telling us things like, "You guys don't need all that house. You guys can move into one of the new neighborhoods in town. You guys can just build a new house." I offered to open up our playroom and guest bedroom to them until they could find somewhere to live. We have air mattresses and the guest room has a full bath, but that was not good enough apparently. That's when we got up and left. They began yelling after us, saying we don't care about the children, family helps family, we're being greedy and selfish, etc., etc. I'm honestly so proud of how he reacted because my first instinct was to go off and say some hurtful things, but we just went home. To our home. We love sister-in-law's kids and obviously do not want them to be homeless, but they don't need my house at the expense of my own children and family. We don't see why sister-in-law's family deserves my home. What about my kids? Now the in-laws are calling and texting saying we don't care about the kids. We're selfish and greedy. We're making her homeless. And I'm wondering if maybe we were too quick to say no. So am I the asshole for not giving my home to my sister-in-law? Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comments. Cruel summer. Not the asshole. You can't be making someone homeless when you have literally offered them space in your own home. Sister-in-law is making herself homeless by turning down offers of assistance because they aren't exactly what she's going for. She's really the selfish and greedy one because she insists on displacing your family rather than humble herself to live temporarily in someone else's home. Sometimes it sucks to suck, and for sister-in-law, this may be one of those times. But word to the wise, take your offer off the table. You've already seen they are willing to resort to anything to get you to bend and cave. They aren't interested in respecting you or treating you with dignity. When sister-in-law gets desperate, she may finally agree to your offer, but that doesn't mean the bullying will stop. Likely, it'll get worse and she'll try to make your life miserable from within your own home until you're forced to consider kicking her out. And then, the guilt trips will get 1,000 times worse as you're now literally kicking her out onto the street. Instead, call their bluff. We are very disappointed with how little respect this family has for our family, our children, in our own home. In the light of this, the previous offer to open up the playroom to sister-in-law is no longer on the table as we feel it would be a mistake to try and share space with someone who clearly has no respect for us. We rest easy in knowing that all the rest of you who are clearly not as greedy or selfish as us are likely waiting with open arms to accept sister-in-law and her kids into your home so she will have somewhere to go without our offer. OP responds to this comment, "My husband has already told sister-in-law that she isn't welcome anymore, but honestly, if it came down to it, I would take the kids in a heartbeat. They didn't ask for this and they're struggling so much. But sister-in-law can sleep in the shed. Sushi Bento Box comments, how is the ex getting the house if she's the one with the kids? Assuming that they're his kids, that is. OP responds, the house is his, bought and paid for by him without her contributing a cent. So that definitely factors in, but from my understanding, she can't buy him out because she has no money. And the in-laws can't or won't buy him out either. And I'm also understanding that he's paying quite a pretty penny in child support. So I don't think she would get the house paid for by him and child support. She may have had to pick one or the other, and I can say with certainty, she would choose child support money. Dogmother123, your in-laws are old. Their family is grown up now. They don't need their house. They should stop being so selfish and move out somewhere smaller so their daughter can have their house. Why are they making her homeless? Why don't they care about their grandkids? How is any of that reasonable? Not the asshole. OP responds, my husband has been dealing with his parents and sister. I've been ignoring all the texts and calls, but from what they're saying, their house is too small, only 2 bedrooms, and they need something bigger for the kids to be able to thrive. So obviously, that means my own kids have to be moved out of the home they've all lived in for their whole lives and just go somewhere else, while my husband and I still pay for them to live in our house because sister-in-law doesn't work and has no plans to. Update. March 20th, 2024, 6 days later. Update. Putting here because it won't let me update in the post body. So, as a lot of you, and myself, thought, sister-in-law was lying about a lot. Not gonna go into too much detail because it's seriously years worth of lies, but my husband and I called the ex-brother-in-law, and we 100% fully believe everything her ex told us. He has no reason to lie to us and said over and over, he just wants the best for his kids and he's trying his best not to do anything that could possibly harm him in a court of law. She lied about him getting the house, lied about how much she was going to get in child support, lied about how often she would have her children. Something else that came out is that her oldest child is not even her ex's child. Just so many lies. We feel so incredibly stupid and deceived and disgusted, to be honest. We told my in-laws everything he had said, and they were upset to find out she had been lying, but they kind of doubled down saying, well, she must have had a good reason. She's backed into a corner, she's really going through a tough time, and a bunch of other nonsense. Sister-in-law was called and asked to come and join us. She, of course, took zero accountability for the lying and sneaking and was screaming at us about how gross we were for going behind her back to her ex and how she will never trust us again because we betrayed her. She also let us know that she was asking for our house because she truly feels like we had actually built it for her. Our kids' rooms were how she would have designed them herself. She would love to cook in my kitchen. She loves my bathroom layout. Basically, everything about my house is how she would have built it herself, and she thinks that I must have somehow known she would want a home in the future. At that point, I was just done, and so was my husband. Can't argue with batshit crazy. We left to a whole lot of screaming about no longer being family and to not expect to see them again. Honestly, I think never seeing them again is the only way to go from here. It's been a crazy few days since then. We hired a friend of my husband's to put up a privacy fence around our entire property and added extra cameras to our security system. We have a good family friend of our family, not husband's, on the police force and let him know the situation, so he knows if he gets a phone call from us that it's serious. I think sister-in-law thought she could have my house because she loved it. That's kind of it. She wanted it, so she thought she deserved it. I guess she was either planning to sell her house at some point or maybe rent it out. I have no idea. And I really don't think she had thought that all the way through. She just thought that if she told us all she was losing the house, then we would feel obligated to help in the way she wanted. So, I hope this clears up some questions. I know I feel at peace with the situation, but my husband has been grieving a bit. He's sad that his parents have chosen a liar over a man who has done everything for his family, never hesitated to help, and only ever been a doting son. But I think this is for the best. They don't treat him the way he deserves, and I'm glad to be rid of them. I'm sad for my kids and the situation this puts them in, but my family has enough love for everyone. Thank you to everyone who took the time to comment and message and give advice and ask questions. Hopefully you guys won't hear from me again. Gotta love the logic of, I will never trust you again for going behind my back and finding out that everything I told you was a lie. How dare you do that to me? Like, come on. How dare you fucking tell a lie that you're gonna be homeless in order to try to swindle my house out from below me? Like, what are you doing here? It's also a shame that OP's in-laws have the mentality of once they find out that the horse they backed is now loose in a children's hospital, kicking, screaming, biting, and possibly maiming, they're gonna find every possible excuse in the book they can to justify the horse's actions. Well, the horse doesn't know any better. The horse has gotta have a good reason for terrorizing the cancer ward. I mean, it's a horse. He doesn't know better. Rather than ever apologizing that when you showed hesitations for backing the horse that's known for going into the children's hospital, they still found ways to justify the potential behavior and even found ways to make you feel guilty for not letting the horse have his God-given right in the children's hospital. This analogy might be getting a little bit away from me here, but I hope you guys get the point that I'm going for. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, of course, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original OP is u/hootyhoot110, posted to r/amItheasshole October 1st, 2024. Am I the asshole for using information against my mother in court that I know will destroy her emotionally/mentally? Content warnings for child abandonment, emotional abuse and manipulation, past trauma, death of a loved one, fraud, and harassment. I, 34 female, am involved in a very dramatic court case with my narcissistic mother and stepfather. First, a little backstory. When my sister was 1 and I was 3, my mother initially had custody. However, when she had gone missing for 4 days, but leaving my sister and I in the home alone, investigations were done, and we were raised by our father. There was a reunification plan. However, my mother did not follow any of it, and her parental rights were terminated. No one had ever talked negatively about my mother growing up or told me what had happened. So, when I was 20, I found my mom and decided to develop a relationship with her. Big mistake. After reuniting with my mother, I discovered quite a bit of information that I previously had not known. She's a narcissist, diagnosed formally. Specifically, vulnerable narcissist. My stepfather has BPD, diagnosed formally. This past decade has been torture. Faked cancer, I was made to shave her hair, I had to pay them to watch my 2 children, constant arguments, and just too much to name. In 2022, my parents decided to move 15 hours away for a get-rich-quick scheme involving flipping homes. I decided to stay in our hometown because my youngest child's father died, and I wanted to stay close to his family. Plus, I was already in a year-long relationship. My mother was enraged. After she had already left, she tried everything to get me to move in with them. She asked me how much money to break up with my boyfriend, got me fired from a job, wrote posts online about how mean I am, texted my oldest about me, sent me hundreds of messages each month, etc. This had been going on continuously for about a year. Earlier this year, I was served paperwork. My mother and stepfather are suing me for grandparents' rights. However, no court date was ever sent. My oldest child goes to her father's every break, and when she came back from summer break with him, she was acting very different. I found out that my mother and my child's father have been in close contact for about 1.5 years. Had my daughter speak with my mother, see my mother, and recorded videos of her that my child did not know about. I have sole legal and physical custody. So, needless to say, a huge argument happened, and I'm now restricting any visitation. As a result of this incident, my mother and stepfather set a court date for a month from now. So, here's why I ask if I'm the asshole. For court, I plan on using text messages where my mother said my stepfather is a danger to children. Text messages from my daughter's father stating my mother is psychotic and he would never give our child access to her. And my mother's court records. My mother has over 140 plus charges on her record in 5 different states. My stepfather knows none of it. I'm also using the fact that her parental rights to me were terminated, so legally, she has no rights to my children. My concern is that knowing she's a narcissist, when I use these documents in court, it'll humiliate her and probably turn my stepfather against her. I do worry it's going to trigger a horrible reaction from my mother, possibly the worst. I wish my mother no harm. I just want to be left alone and protect my children. I've been no contact this whole time, hoping it would stop, but it hasn't. I'm feeling so conflicted. Am I the asshole has no consensus bot, but OP was not the asshole. Relevant comments. OP responds to a point where she should steer clear of her mother, get a restraining order, and other legal action as possible. OP, I'm glad you were cleared. Gives me hope I can get through this too. I'm staying no contact and I have no intentions in ever engaging again, which is why I also told my oldest child's father he will not see her until further notice because he will let my mother around my child. If I can get a restraining order, I will. Just trying to get her out of my children and I's life, but with limited fallout. Looks like I can't avoid that, unfortunately. Commenter 1. This is your child. I don't give two craps about your mom or her feelings. Also, warn your lawyer that she will lie her ass off and probably already has in the deposition. I might have missed if your dad is still in your life, and if yes, he might have some skeletons to help you. You don't want some judge saying she made one mistake and I'm giving her visitation. You want to show how horrible she is that she will give you a restraining order so she can't contact you or your child and limit any contact with the father of your child. If he didn't know your mom was nuts, then maybe let him start off slow again. OP responds, I already warned my lawyer. I asked my dad if he knew anything and it wasn't too much more than I already knew. So I hired a private investigator and that's how I found out a lot of the charges. Unfortunately, my child's father knew everything about my mother already and let it happen anyways. I have evidence that my mother paid my child's father in order to see my child. It's a whole mess. Commenter 2. I'm wondering why you remained in contact with your mother once you discovered her issues. OP responds, I often ask myself the same question. I've never dealt with anyone like her before and I never lived with her, so I didn't experience a lot of this wrath until I defied her wishes. I wasn't raised around her family, so I don't know anyone else's experience. I also don't know a lot of the criminal stuff until I hired a private investigator. The mental illness stuff should have scared me more, but at the time it didn't. Now that I do know everything, I can never let my kids near them again. Commenter 3. I'm curious why you would even care what effect this would have on her. You intend to present evidence-based facts that are entirely pertinent to a legal proceeding she started, involving the care and safety of your minor child. At no point should you be considering how that information reflects on her relationships with anyone else in her life, because that is not relevant here. OP responds, I didn't specify in my post, but I have 2 half-siblings, from my mother, that are being put in the middle of this as well. So part of me is concerned that my mother will destroy my relationships with my half-siblings, whom I am close to. My mother is the type of person who would attempt suicide and write a note saying that I made her do it. While I do not want my mother in my life, I do want my half-siblings, but I guess I need to put that concern aside and maintain focus on my kids. OP explains about her state and the grandparents' rights. OP, my state is a little different. They only have to prove they have had contact with my children in the last 3 years, so the time is almost up, which is why the case. My number and my kids' numbers were already changed at the start of this, deactivated all social media profiles that identify my name. I got a job that is heavily secured and needs clearance to get in. I moved to a different city, 30 minutes from where I lived. I honestly did everything I could. My children's father was the problem, but I had no idea he was going behind my back and keeping contact. Update, February 26th, 2025, 4.5 months later. I finally have an update on my situation since I last posted about 5 months ago. Court was postponed twice by my mother, for reasons I don't know. Then it was postponed for a 3rd time due to accusations that I was an unfit mother and my daughter had suicidal ideations. My mother asked the judge to appoint a guardian ad litem to make sure the children were safe. Court was rescheduled to March 2025. The past 5 months, I have been doing nothing but researching my mother. I found she has a total of 19 active warrants, including 3 probation violations. I turned everything over to my lawyer in hopes something would work. 2 days after discovery was turned over to my mother's lawyers, my mother called to let me know she officially dropped the case. My children and I met with the guardian ad litem, and they told the judge they see no issues whatsoever. After over a year of fighting this, it's finally over. It's been such a tough battle, but I'm so happy my kids are safe and will never have to go through what I have. Thank you to everyone who wrote me personally and commented such positive things. You all have no idea how much it helped me, especially when I was having such an internal struggle. My kids are doing better than ever, and I'm grateful we pushed through. More info. To answer some comments, I have already moved several states away, changed my contact information, and have had no contact for 3.5 years. I'm currently working on getting a restraining order, but have been advised by my lawyer that I may not be granted one due to lack of proof. That's frustrating, but I'm still trying anyways. My daughter and I still have had no contact with her father, and other than a very strange Darth Vader text, we haven't heard from him. He's also a couple states away from us. I also have my daughter in therapy, so I'm hoping she learns how to have better boundaries than I did. I am not going to call different areas about her warrants. Yet. My thinking is that she won't make any big moves against me as long as they're active, and I know about them. Something I can hold over her head, just in case she tries something again. I know it's probably not over, but this was a huge win. Relevant/top comments. Commenter 1. What an incredible update. Your strength in fighting for your kids is truly inspiring. I'm relieved to hear the guardian ad litem found no issues. What kept you motivated through this journey? OP responds, thank you. What kept me going was my kids and wanting to break the cycle of toxicity for them. They deserve the world, and hopefully they'll have better boundaries and not find themselves in a similar situation. How did OP's mother acquire that many warrants? OP responds, she has 30 plus aliases and has 200 plus charges in 8 different states, all financial related crimes, identity theft, robbery, fraud, etc. She's a con artist. Commenter 2. Please do not ever have contact with your mom and stepdad again. Also, that ex seems to be a jerk too. If your mom starts harassing you, just make sure to document, video record, and file a restraining order against her and include your kids. That would be best. Commenter 3. Contact all the venues for which she has warrants and tell them where she is / how they can find her. Let them take care of it from there. God, I would love to be a fly on the wall for one of those oh shit moments that a lawyer has to have with their client, where they pretty much break down for them that, hey, you're kind of fucked, by the way. OP's mom, ironically enough, is kind of lucky that a countersuit wasn't involved, because then they'd be forced to go into mediation and come to a mutual term for settlements, and that all the cards would be in OP's table, and that would not be good for OP's mom. I'm very happy that OP's mom chose to sit around and fight this one, because the last thing that, honestly, I think anyone would want is those kids having to be subjected to OP's mother and the kind of secondhand abuse they would end up receiving from her antics and actions. I mean, hell, involving a guardian ad litem into the whole equation just to make things more complicated and lying about the daughter's suicidal tendencies, that's fucked up. And if OP's mom is that vengeful and vindictive just during the court proceedings, it does genuinely worry me what kind of nonsense would have happened if OP did have to for some reason give up custody for grandparents' rights to her mother. Thank God for all the active warrants and other bullshit that was actually stacked up against OP's mom here, because if it wasn't for that, they probably would have had to gone to court and things would have gotten really complicated. But instead, and unfortunately we couldn't be a fly on the wall for this conversation, OP's mom got a nice stack of papers of, hey, you have a shit ton of active warrants and there's all these text messages and just a bunch of shit that makes you look like a complete, just unhinged monster? Maybe we should just drop this and count our lucky stars that didn't appear in front of the judge. This post was collected by BestOf Redditor Updates Lover, and they do not have a tagline yet. Posted by user Marriage Unfiltered and r/marriage. Posted December 5th, 2024. I've been hiding this from my husband all year, and he's going to find out on Christmas. Alright, I see you. Slam clicking on this like it's the tea of the century, but oh, don't worry. No scandals here. Just me sneaking around for a wholesome reason. Stick around though, because I need some sneaky ideas for next year. Every year I do a savings challenge and give it to my husband on Christmas. It's become a tradition that started years ago when I noticed how stressed he gets about finances, especially around the holidays. He's the only income earner for our family of 5. We have 3 kiddos. And gift receiving isn't his love language, but I couldn't bear to do nothing for him. So, I found a loophole. The first year, I saved up money from our little side hustle and bought a little bit of gold every month. It was the smallest box under the tree, but to this day, he still says it was his favorite gift ever. The whole point is to show him how much I see and appreciate the financial weight he carries and to give him something that's 100% stress-free. Since then, I've tried to get creative. One year it was antique coins, another year it was silver. This year, I got one of those smash-to-open piggy banks and secretly started adding to it. It's been sitting on our dresser all year in plain sight, disguised as a plant stand. He looks right at it multiple times a day, yet he has no clue. I can't wait to wrap it up with a hammer and watch him open it on Christmas morning. But now, I need to plan something for next year. I'd love to hear your ideas for savings challenges or unique ways to gift savings. Imaginary bonus points for ideas that are extra clever or have a fun twist. Let's hear it! Update, I've been hiding this from my husband all year and he's going to find out on Christmas. Posted December 31st, 2024. Update, I wanted him to have the first gift of Christmas, so I told him about my secret on Christmas Eve. Watching all the dots connect and seeing his face light up was incredible. Like a kid on Christmas morning. And yes, I realize it practically was Christmas morning, but there's really no better way to describe that kind of joy. He loved it so much we decided to get another one. But this time, we'll both add to it throughout the year and break it open together next Christmas. Don't worry, I'm still going to do a separate savings gift just for him. Pro tip if you try this, have a bag or box or something ready. I didn't. And he ended up smashing it open out of excitement. Right on our bed. Thankfully on his side. Anyways, thank you all for the love and ideas on my first post. It made this little tradition feel even more special, knowing so many people enjoyed it too. Comment thread. Commenter, how much and what did you do? OP. I linked the original post for the full story, but basically my husband doesn't like receiving gifts. Instead, I secretly save money throughout the year and give it to him on Christmas. I've done gold, old coins, etc., but this past year I had been saving spare change in a secret piggy bank that you had to break with a hammer to open. I didn't tell him about it until Christmas Eve. The commenter responds, it doesn't say anywhere obvious in the previous post, but how much? OP. LOL, oops, I'm sorry, I forgot to answer that part. This year, I managed to save over $1,200. I know this one was definitely a bit of a shorter post than usual because most best of posts are at minimum like 7 minutes long, and at maximum we've had ones go up to 18 minutes. But I figured this short little sweet wholesome one was a good little addition to add to the collection and might make a few of your mornings more palatable. So hopefully you enjoy this and maybe get some ideas for your significant others next Christmas. Who knows? Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.